Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team, every single day. Hello, I'm Stephen Willis from the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, and I'm joined by Derek Vandygriff, Mr. Baseball, as I always am. And right now, baseball is not doing too well, Derek.
Yeah, we've hit quite a skid here, losing what would that be? 6 of our last 7 now. The midweek loss to Memphis obviously hurt. Couldn't get swept at home against Kentucky. We did get swept at home against Kentucky, obviously. And it's not getting any easier coming up with a road trip to the number one team in the country right on deck starting Thursday for us. So it's this is definitely going to be a series where it challenges the mental toughness more than anything of this baseball team to see if they can scrap together anything, kind of get a little bit momentum going in the right direction. And they need it in a real bad way. But look, man, you know me, I'm about as positive as they come when it comes to Ole Miss baseball. I'm not giving up on this team yet. A lot of really good players. Things that I've obviously liked throughout the year. Haven't seen a whole lot of that over the last 2 weeks. Obviously, things have really snowballed on us. From pitching to defense and really timely hitting too. Not coming through the way we need to. Starting to see some lineup shakeups and stuff like that, which I think is really nice to see. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens this weekend.
Is it possible that Mike Bianco just isn't very good at the portal? Maybe the portal is like a new adventure that's kind of past him.
Sure. I guess anything's possible at this point, right? But the portal's so hit and miss. Not only in baseball but everything really. I think us as Ole Miss fans were probably a little spoiled by how good Lane Kiffin is at it. A couple years ago, he ran into some issues there from what I heard when we kind of fell apart at the end of the year after the what was it 7-1 start or whatever it was, and then you end up losing 4 of the last 5 or however that ended up going there at the end a couple years ago for football season. Really put it together last year. Looks like doing it again this year. Obviously did really well in the portal. You never know how these guys are going to mesh when they come into your program. It's kind of a crapshoot. And, I still really like the guys. I still really like the players. And there were times earlier in the year where it looked like that he hit several home runs in the transfer portal. Andrew Fisher, is probably the first one that comes to mind. He's played well pretty much all year for us after a slight lull to begin the year. Luke Hill struggled. He's still hitting the ball hard. I took issue with people getting on him defensively in the Memphis game Tuesday night. The error they gave him is egregious. There's no way that should have been an error. And then the very next inning, the Memphis shortstop has an easier play, boots it off his hands, and that's a hit then. So I thought that was a garbage error on Luke Hill there on Tuesday night, really got handcuffed there. And then the other play people talked about, he was going to cover second base, and they hit it oppo into the hole, got the left-handed hitter up, shortstop goes and covers second because you're counting on him to pull the ball, right? Well, he does, and he pushes it back. Luke Hill's got to change direction, go all the way back to the hole, try to make a backhand play there. Wasn't able to make it cleanly, which I don't think he would have got the runner at first anyway, which he didn't get an error. So I was kind of surprised that the official scorer didn't go ahead and tack him with one there too. But obviously he's had trouble throwing the ball a little bit though. But he's made really good plays in the field too. He's in his head a little bit, right? I think that in baseball more than anything, you can get in your own head and really kind of mess yourself up. I think that's probably what's going on with him a little bit there.
A little Steve Sachs going on.
Yeah, something real similar there, right? And Trayson's played a hell of a good defense there in right field. Struggled at the plate to begin the year. Hot stretch. Now he's back cold again. I'm sure he'll pick it up though. Haven't seen the power come out in his game, which is something that I was really looking forward to this year. That hasn't transitioned to the SEC level. Look, that's another thing. You got all these guys coming from the mid majors and lower conferences for the most part. I know Luke Hill was Arizona State, Andrew Fisher, Duke. Those are Power 5 programs or power programs. I guess they were still technically Power 5 when they were playing there. But yeah, there's a lot going on there. And then the pitching, you look at it and it's a pitching staff that has so much talent on it, but then, you lose Hunter Elliott last year, so you don't have him on this squad. You lose Xavier Rivas going into the year. JT Quinn's out with an oblique injury. They seem to think pitch at some point again this year. He's been sidelined for a while. So, I mean, you can make an argument that really 3 of your top 4 starters are injured right now when you throw Quinn into the mix, and then I'm throwing Dole in there as the 3-4, wherever you slot him at. So, a lot of injuries there on the pitching side, too, which really sucks. But look, that's one thing you got to deal with in baseball. It happens to everybody, maybe not to this extent all at once, but there was talent from a pitching staff standpoint on this team, and a lot of them unfortunately gotten injured. So,
Okay, Derek, do me a favor on your thing and close out some windows on your internet browser. It's using a little bit of your processing. Okay. It's kind of gargled. Yeah.
Huh. No, I ain't got nothing else open. Just you, man.
Okay. Well, anyway,
sure what's going on there.
The reason I ask is the Mike Bianco transfer question. The reason I brought that up is because he got a whole bunch of really good players to transfer in. Andrew Fisher, Luke Hill, Trayson Hughes. They were very well thought of by just about everybody. Liam Dole. But the question I have is, when you think about it, did he just say, hey, this is a good player, bring him in. This is a good player, bring him in. This is a good player, bring him in. Because if you look at this team, and you say, hey, what does this Ole Miss baseball team do? And you can't answer that question.
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of weird how everything's going to mesh together, right? You never know how that's going to end up going, which obviously is something you're not going to know until you get into games and kind of figure out how they're going to play together. And Andrew Fisher's one of the real bright spots of this transfer portal class. So he's really played well. He's played really well defensively. I think I was excited about him defensively coming into the year. Had 2 or 3 errors early on, and he's really settled in. Made some really nice plays over there at the hot corner. So, but yeah, Fisher's a really good example of a guy that he's kind of like you said, he's a real good player, and maybe a different lineup, team standpoint, something like that. He might be able to shine a little bit more, but we're getting the most out of him with what we got right now. It's a little bit finding the right puzzle pieces though, and trying to pull them in and getting guys mentally to lock in. And I mean, look, we won 10 out of 11 at one point. You saw how good we were playing then. Everybody was really excited about the team and the prospects of the team. At that point, we got to get back to playing that brand of baseball where we're patient, but we're aggressive too. That's one thing I think we've kind of gotten away from these last couple of weeks. Our approach at the plate, we seem to be too aggressive in certain areas and not patient enough in others. And then it always seems to be the wrong time every single time. You have Luke Hill with Dribbler there on the first pitch Tuesday night against Memphis. That one comes to mind where, a guy with a 10.95 ERAs in the game. And, you really want to see if he can get the ball across the plate and if you can really hone in on one certain pitch that you're looking for there. But yeah, we're just not playing real well in really any aspect of the game. Bullpen was a real big positive for us early in the year, and now the bullpen's getting lit up too. So it's like I said, it's that snowball effect right now where what can go wrong is going wrong. But you've got to trust Mike and the guys and these players to have the mental strength to get back in this thing and not give up and be tough enough to try to bounce back a little bit and make a run at this thing here at the last, 7 weekends of conference play.
Yeah, and you have number 1 Arkansas this weekend, tomorrow night. And after that, you have Mississippi State at home. Ole Miss has not won a series against Mississippi State in 10 years. It's at the point where if this goes real sideways, let's say they get swept in Fayetteville, they lose 2 out of 3 in Oxford, the baseball season's basically done.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we end up losing 5 of these next 6, then mathematically you're basically already eliminated. unless you think you're going to go through and sweep the next 5 series, something like that, or at least 3 of them. You'd have to have sweeps in them. Me and Hitch actually went through the schedule after the Kentucky series on our weekend recap show, and the whole idea of the exercise was, hey, we got to get to 14 SEC wins. I'm about to start reading off the schedule, and you tell me how many you think we're going to win of these games. And man, when you start breaking it down like that, it gets really, really hard to get to 14, especially if you don't get at least one this weekend and take 2 from Mississippi State next weekend in Oxford. So, you've got to win 3 of these next 6 at least. Take one in Fayetteville, come back and win 2 against Mississippi State and Oxford. And then if you can do that, then maybe we can sit down and I can sit there and math you a little bit and start crunching some numbers to maybe make the fan base feel a little bit better about getting to that 14, 15 win mark and getting this program back into the postseason, man. Because look, it's Ole Miss baseball is a really big thing in Oxford and this Ole Miss fan base, and we take it very seriously. Also, that's why you see so many people so pissed off about it when things are going as poorly as they are right now. But we got to hang with these guys though, and try to give them a fighting shot to rack up some wins, take some series, and try to get this thing back on track and hopefully make a run at it.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team, every single day. Derek Vandygriff, Mr. Baseball, coming in, #1 Arkansas tomorrow night, and you have Mississippi State coming next weekend. Derek, you have a good weekend of baseball. Enjoy it, and I'm going to enjoy watching my undefeated Tigers still.
Yes. I was wondering when that was going to get thrown in there, but I knew you were going to squeeze in eventually. So
yeah, I got it. Hotty toddy, buddy.
That's right.